back
Hey,
again.
hey, Reef enthusiasts! Welcome back to another NORE live stream. I know we're getting ready for vacation, but before you grab your sunscreen, let's make sure your underwater buddies are all set for some alone time. Welcome to our NORE May live stream, mastering vacation mode and ensuring your reef tank thrives while you're away. I'm Gavin Jones. I'm the NORE Treasurer Secretary, and I'm joined by
Jeff here, NORE President. We're going to talk about how not to blow up your tank when you go away and have some fun for a week this summer, right?
Right. A lot of good information here. But before we dive in, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Let us know you're here. If you share what you do when you go on vacation. Share what you do with your tank and how you take care of your tank while you're away. So
yeah,
Jeff,
we love reading comments, so drop a comment.
Yes.
Even if you're just saying hi, we'll bring it up here on the screen. So we love reading comments, so go ahead, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is, leave us a comment. Let us know you're watching.
And even if you're watching this after the live stream, feel free to drop a comment in there. If you have any questions.
Greg's waving. Greg says hi.
There he
we
goes.
go.
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Greg's been waiting for this. But if you're watching afterwards, feel free to leave a comment. I know I go through and I see what people have said. If you have questions, we'll get them answered for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you go through, hit the like button on this video, subscribe, and then, of course, hit that notification bell because we do these streams once a month. So it's always on a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, usually like one of the last Wednesdays of the month. We pick a different topic, but we go off tangents and we talk about different things and answer different questions. So we're really trying to build this YouTube channel for our club here in Northeast Ohio and really for anybody that is here to watch this. So go ahead, hit that little subscribe button.
Yeah, no, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. We do have some videos in the pipeline. We had our NORE tank tours last month, the beginning of the month. Not last month, that was this month. The beginning of the month, we're working on putting something together for that. So if you missed the tank tours, you'll get to see the 5 tanks we did visit there. Putting a lot of things together. Tank of the month, starting to do, bringing on the tank of the month winner and talking to them about their tank. So a lot of things planned for our YouTube channel.
Yeah, no, and that's, I got to give the public shout out and thank you to Gavin here for really kind of taking the reins on doing a lot of the video and media creation for our channel. So awesome job. It's always great, like seeing the little shorts that you're posting and all of that. But, Gavin, I'm giving you all the props here. And then we got Justin throwing shade at you right now saying, he was going to watch, but then that hat that you're wearing right there. I don't know.
He's jealous.
He's just throwing shade at you. That's what he's doing.
Super jealous.
Right.
You're just mad you're not at the beach like us.
Yeah, exactly. We're here on the beach, right? Looking at fish in my tank up and around us. There we go. Cool. All right, let's dive out into the topic because Gavin and I, Gavin put together a big list of things that we're going to talk about, and usually all of us go away for at least once a year. I've kind of got an interesting bit on this. So some of you may know that I travel a lot for work, so I'll be home for a week or two, and then I'll be on the road for a week or two, and it could be anywhere from up to 2 weeks to even just a couple days, but I'm doing this every couple weeks. So to me, prepping a tank to be gone and have other people that may not be experienced watching it, it's just common practice. Like, actually, I just flew in earlier today from being gone for like 3-4 days. So yeah, no, it's just like a normal thing for me. So happy to share all of my different tips and tricks that I do. And I know, Gavin, you put together a lot of great stuff too.
Now, you put something on here, and we were talking it beforehand, about how everyone has a different checklist. What does your checklist look like?
Yeah, so it's actually right over there because I'm downstairs in the basement right now in my fish room. You need to develop a checklist. And, this idea actually came back in like 2016, 2017 with me because that's when I actually went through and became a private pilot. So I learned how to fly aircraft back in 2016, 2017. And, taking a lot of things from the aviation industry and kind of applying them to other things in my life. When a pilot is prepping an aircraft, getting it ready, going into takeoff, going into cruise, getting ready for landing, they've got checklists for absolutely everything. And you go through and you read off every item on the checklist. Doesn't matter if you haven't flown the plane in a year or you just flew it 2 hours ago. You still go through the checklist, because what that does is that takes away any of the, oh, did I forget anything? Oh, did I remember everything? No, you just go through the checklist. So whether that's making sure every ATO is fully filled on up, making sure your dosing containers are filled up, scraping the glass on all tanks, as simple as the items may be, you have a checklist. And I laminated it, and I just use a dry erase marker and just go through, wipe it all clean. I know I'm going on a trip, pull it on up, boom, boom, boom. There's about 20 or so items there on the checklist, and I know that before I leave, if every single item is on that list, from something as important as making sure ATO is there, to making sure I have connectivity on Apex. That's one thing. I left on a trip long ago, and got to the airport, was ready to take off, and realized my Apex is offline. Like, oh, it's going to be a long week. It's going to suck. So, and this checklist isn't something that you make once and it's that forever. No, it's constantly evolving. And most of these things that you would add to a checklist or remove from a checklist come from a necessity. So it may be a thing of, hey, you left and you just realized Apex wasn't online. Well, guess what? I'm going to add that to my checklist of make sure, that's ready to go. Another one that I noticed once was, I left and it was like a week-long trip. And on day one, my Trident reagents ran out on day one. So now I have 6 days of, well, hope it works. Hope it stays where it's supposed to.
What's my tank doing?
Yes, exactly. So now you better believe check Trident reagent levels is right there on there. So I'll open up the app, see, okay, I've got 50% left. That'll last me a week. I'm good. So creating, and that's the thing of, sharing my checklist wouldn't help most people on out there, because every system is different. All the things that I have on mine are applicable to my tank. So you kind of got to go through and create it. And this isn't something that you're probably going to create in one setting when you just sit on down and create. But, over a week, write down little things that you would do that, whether it's, as I said, scrape the glass or top off reagents, prepping food. That's another big one. So a lot of the times when we go, especially if you're going on a trip with family, the other people that may be familiar with your tank are going on the trip with you. So they're not there to be able to take care of your tank. Now, luckily, I've got Sierra, who's here at home. Most of the times when I'm out on work trips, she knows how to take care of the tank, but I still prep the food for her. So I'll get these little cups and put in exactly how much food is supposed to go into each tank, line them all up, label them out. Tuesday, NEM tank. Tuesday, 220. Tuesday, frag tank. Boom. And she's got little cups to where it's really just opening them up, dumping them on in the tank. There takes the guesswork away from them. But we're getting into all of our individual little things right now.
Yeah,
you asked that question. I'm like,
everything.
we're blowing through the entire list of everything right there. We do have actually some people dropping in good tips here. So we're going to get to some of these. Let's see. Antonio just dropped on in one. His tip is keep an emergency brute container running with fresh mixed salt water just in case. Yeah, that's a great one. That is actually one of the things on my list of that is to make sure, because I've got a mixing station here with an RODI tank and a saltwater tank, is to make sure they're at least 50% full. So I want to make sure I have at least 50% RODI and 50% saltwater mixed. And that's kind of one of those, just in case. That's a good way to put it. It's, you don't know that you're going to need it, but when you need it right now. You don't need it in 2 days once your RODI makes it.
Yeah, make sure your auto top-offs are topped off.
Yep.
That if so my auto top-off is a 5-gallon bucket.
Okay. So how long does that last you?
It can do me 4 to 5 days.
Okay.
But it also depends on the time of year.
100%.
Yeah. So it could be 4 days. I could maybe stretch it to like 6. But I know at some point, if I'm on vacation, someone's going to have to fill that. That 7 days is pushing. And if I don't top it off before I leave, then it's definitely going down. And I know I have about a day and a half to 2 days once I run out of auto top-off water before I start blowing bubbles in the tank and, the water's down low.
Speaking of auto top-off,
ever let it get that low. I mean, it never, I never, it never gets up low. Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Here's a little tip that I do. So the NEM tank, it's right behind this green screen actually here. It has a 5-gallon auto top off reservoir, which will get me about 4 to 5 days is what it'll get. But I could cheat and I can go a week, and this is how I would do it. So what I'll do is right before I leave, it's usually the last thing. So if I'm even leaving 6:30 in the morning on a certain day on my list, I'll leave that on the checklist to do before I head to the airport. So that's one of my last things is make sure all those top off tanks are as full as they can be. But I'll also cheat and I'll fill the sump up with probably another half gallon to a gallon of RODI. So not only does it have a full auto top off reservoir, I've also basically oversaturated with RODI into the main system. So it's going to evaporate that over the first day and a half or so and then go on into the reservoir. So I can kind of cheat another extra day or two by doing that.
Just as long as you know that if you're, how much you can put in there and your tank shut off and it not backflow into the sump and flood everything.
Yeah, and there's that you got to kind of be careful. I've got a couple lines up on there, but there are times like I have cheated, but like, all right, I need an extra day, whatever. I'm just going to overfill it and it'll be fine.
I couldn't do that with my frag grow out system because when I turn the pumps off, I've got it lined up just right that it's just at the top of the sump. It won't go over, but if I throw anything above that auto top off in my frag system, I'll have a wet floor.
All right. Well,
now,
Justin brings in another a great tip of what he would do. He says, of course, just have your business partner stop in and make sure nothing is dying. Yeah, no problem. That's a great thing. That's dying is a bad thing. We don't want to do that.
So, in auto top offs, it doesn't have to be something top of the line expensive to make it work.
Reef culture up at the farm, we're using brute trash cans, and they work very well. So we've got everywhere from the 55 gallons to the 30 gallons on the smaller systems.
But what I mean is, you have these nice mechanical, electric pumps that have either an infrared sensor or a float switch, and that's nice. It works. But if you're a budget reefer, you don't want to spend that $90 to $100 on an auto top off. There are gravity fed options that'll get you by while you're on vacation. Maybe you just want to take care of it while you're on vacation, and then go back to topping off by hand when you get back. So there are gravity fed options that you can get that'll keep your tank topped off right while you're away. That's if bringing up another check on our list here is if your tank sitter's not doing it for you.
Yeah, no, and also talking, now we're on the topic of auto top off. Just because you have a 5-gallon auto top off for 51 weeks of the year, if you are leaving on one trip, there is no reason that you can't change that. And you say you have got a very elegant solution, nice acrylic box. I've got like a giant carboy under there that looks nice and pretty underneath that tank. If I really needed 1 week to get more auto top off water, there's no reason that you can't drop a 20-gallon, 30-gallon trash can there and put your same auto top off. Just use a larger reservoir is what I'm saying. It may look ugly sitting in front of the tank, but guess what? The fish don't really care what that looks like, and you're not home, so you're not seeing it or tripping over it. What I'm saying is you could up that temporarily while you're gone.
Quick disclaimer on that note. If you get a large, 50-gallon or whatever trash can that sits higher than your sump,
run
your line up into the main display. That way you don't siphon off everything and flood your.
Yes, it could, or you put a siphon break in it. But yes, that is a real thing. That is definitely a real thing for sure.
I mean, it's just temporary. If you're gone for a week, it sits there for a week, and you get back and you move it. So, but it's peace of mind knowing that you've got more than enough water to top off your tank while you're gone.
Totally. So I think we've kind of nailed auto top off. For everybody else, if you've got any certain tips with auto top off or really anything in general, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you have questions at all throughout this, drop those on in. We'll be happy to go through and answer those. But we already talked about checklists. So next one's on our list here is checklists. Definitely really, really important, and follow it and do it every time. If I'm sure a lot of you don't travel as much as I do, every couple weeks heading on out and leaving the tanks alone. But, even that I'm doing this every couple weeks, I'm still going through that checklist every single time, because you don't want to miss something, because the last time that you want to remember, oh shoot, I forgot to fill in the blank, is when you're an hour away from home or on an airplane flying away from home, because at that point it's too late. So
Right.
that checklist is important. You just start to create that, and create, if you're having a trip in July this year, start it now. Write down 10 things that you think would be on your list, and then you're going to think of another one. You can add it, and you think of another one, and it's always a constantly evolving list.
Yes, and that'll bring up another point. We're not going to skip ahead too far right now, but in starting now, if you have a vacation, sneak peek. If you have a vacation coming up this summer, start getting your checklist and things together now, and we'll talk about that more in detail later.
Yep, totally. Okay, so let's talk about feeding. Fish need to eat, or do they? That's a good question. I'll open that up to everybody that's watching right now. How often do you feed your fish? And if you go away for even 2 or 3 days, do you feel it's necessary to feed your fish? Gavin, what do you think about that?
Well, my most recent experience, it wasn't exactly a vacation, but it was a big life event for me where Tuesday night, my wife says, hey, we're going to the hospital. Wednesday, I became a dad. I didn't come home until Friday. And I had a house sitter,
Okay.
a dog sitter that took care of our dogs, but I hadn't prepped them at all, on the tank. But I knew that my tank would be all right. My fish would be all right for 4 days. My wrasse will pick. Clownfish can live through anything. Starry Blenny will just keep eating the glass all day. So I wasn't worried about it, because I knew they could go that length of time.
Yeah, no, and a lot of it depends on what you have in your tank. Do you have fish, like a clownfish, like a tang that's going to be naturally picking at your rocks, a wrasse that's going to be picking at anything that crawls in the tank? Those types of fish can easily go a couple days. Now, it's not something to fall back on, of like, oh, I'm not just going to feed the tank today because those are... No, but like if you're going a couple times a year and you need to go a day or two, that's totally fine. But if you have some fish that are very high metabolism fish, or fish that are always needing to be fed different types of food, you might not be able to do that. So the answer to this question really does vary based upon what types of livestock you have in your tank.
I know last time I went on vacation, I did get a auto feeder. I got the Neptune one.
Yeah, the Neptune one. I don't even know what.
Why can't I think of the name?
I can't think. What is its name? I don't know. I was thinking ATK, but that's the auto top off.
That's what I was gonna say too. It's something like that though.
No, it's the little thing that sits on up there and turns and is really super loud. And fun fact, I have actually never used an auto feeder on any of my tanks ever. Nope.
I took it off.
It's
not
probably
long
because
after.
so few of my fish actually eat pellets. That's probably why.
It's a new Neptune product, the auto feeder Quiet Drive.
Yeah, I know. It's anything's got to be quieter than the last one, because I've heard the other ones and it sounds like this little like vacuum cleaner thing running. And you're like, what in the world is that? Yeah.
But yeah, great thing. It doesn't have to be Neptune. You don't have to get in that ecosystem to have
AFS. Thank you, Reef Trader. AFS auto feeding system. Thank you.
Perfect.
You just dropped it into the comments.
Yeah. You don't have to, get in the Neptune ecosystem to have an auto feeder. Eheim makes one that's decently cheap. There's some cheap options out there that'll do the job for you. So
Let's talk about pros and cons of auto feeders. What would you say are some pros of having an auto feeder on your tank?
So if you do have those high metabolism fish, Anthias or something that needs to, constantly eat throughout the day, great option. You can set it up, feed 3 to 4 times a day.
Yep.
Con, you're feeding 3 to 4 times a day, and if you don't have the nutrient export, the filtration to take care of that, it's going to show.
Yep. Nope, totally will. Also, another con, as I already mentioned, what if you have fish that don't eat pellets? Because most auto feeding systems, now there are some that have been created and whatnot that can do a frozen type thing. Most are pellet only.
Right. Yeah. That's why it's important to get your fish eating both.
Yep. Yeah, I guess I spoil my fish and give them a whole bunch of frozen stuff
Oh,
all the time, and that's what
mine
they're
eat
used
frozen all the time. But they will go after pellets if I put it in there.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is good. I guess cautions with an auto feeder. What happens if the thing goes crazy and decides to dump like 2 weeks worth of food in one afternoon?
Then you get some fat, happy fish.
Fat, happy fish. Yeah, we hope that that's the only thing that happens. But yeah, no, that's as with everything. There's always kind of, you got to think of, you're putting something into place. What could be the potential pitfall that you fall on into? And we're going to touch on this point here in a little bit, but whatever you do, if you do decide to use an auto feeder and you're not using it regularly, my suggestion would be to have it in place, not the day before you leave. Maybe you get it up and running a week before you leave so you can monitor it, so you can make sure that, one, it's working if that's what you're relying on for food. Two, that it's dumping in the right amount of food and at the right frequency. So you've got that set on up there, running on your tank, running on your system for a good week or so. And then when you leave, you feel pretty confident, hey, this has worked for the last week. I've watched it. I've been here when it's been doing it. Boom. Now it can kind of take on over from there.
This whole don't do it the day before thing is going to be a common thread in this. You're going to hear that a lot. For some reason, don't do it the day before. You'll hear that a lot. But you were talking about...
Bob just actually jumped on with a great comment right there. That's awesome. Bob says he uses the Hydros, and it will dump pellet and flake, and no issues thus far. Awesome. Cool.
Well, the plank feeder, what company makes that plank? Avast Marine.
Okay.
The plank feeder, that's an expensive feeder, more expensive than the AFS, but that'll do pellet and flake. But
cool.
you're paying upwards 150, if not more, for an automatic feeder. But you were talking about going crazy and dumping food, and we can kind of get into our next topic, but we need to go back and talk about frozen a little bit. But if you do have that AFS, you can set up alarms where it's monitoring electric usage, so you can see like, hey, this thing's running a lot more than it should be.
That, or even, I would actually use ORP as a better measure right there. If my ORP's tanking and I have an auto feeder on there, I'd be like, whoa, what's going on here? Because that's going to be an indication of a whole bunch of organics being dumped into your water.
See, I don't have an ORP probe, so
okay.
I would go more, if I was going to watch that, then I would go more on the electrical usage.
Yeah, there's different ways of doing it. There's different ways to skin the cat here. You can kind of look at it from different ways, for sure.
But let's talk about frozen here for a little bit, and then we can kind of branch off into. We could go anywhere after talking this because this segues, but there's really not a commercially available auto feeder for frozen food.
You are correct.
You can make something.
It's $1 million idea. If anybody out there's watching, you can create one. You got $1 million idea.
I just saw a weird contraption some dude made. I saw a Facebook video or on YouTube or something. But it still required someone putting that frozen food in the water.
That's it. And every one that I've seen that I've bought like one or two of them, and I tried to conjure up one because I thought I had a great design. They don't work fantastic. They really don't.
So, if you have a reef sitter, someone coming over to feed your fish, to check out your tank, or you've contacted your local fish store, that's going to do something for you, you can pre-portion your foods. So just little deli cups.
I'm gonna go. You talk for a sec. I'm gonna go grab some. I'm gonna do a little show and tell. Hang out.
Okay. So yeah, little deli cups, little sandwich bags. The biggest thing is we talked about is overfeeding. And if you have someone feeding your tank for you, they're not used to feeding your tank. They don't know how much you normally feed. So that's a big thing that can happen is your tank sitter can overfeed the tank. So if you pre-portion your food, like I said, in deli cups or some sort of package, that'll definitely help your tank sitter in avoid overfeeding. Now, Jeff, what do you bring us?
Yep. So these are what I use. So these are tiny little plastic cups. I think I got them at US Plastics, but they're really just like, I don't know, condiment sauce type cups. They're fairly durable. And I write on there, as I mentioned before, you see here, this is Wednesday 220. So this would be for today's Wednesday. Today's food for the 220, that would go into that cup. Wednesday, Nem tank food that would go into there. Make it idiot proof. So whoever's sitting your tank, and whether this person is doing it for the first time ever or they do it every single time you go out of town, and they've done it many, many times, I'm still doing this. So I have Sierra who's here at home when I leave, and she still has me portion the food out into here. It makes it idiot proof because all they have to do, Wednesday 220, open up the lid, get in the spoon, scoop, dump it into the tank. And then I make them rinse this out so I'm not smelling rotten fish that's been sitting on the counter for a week afterwards. So they rinse it out. But yeah, these are the cups that I use. And I've got, a whole bunch, one for every tank. And I just I'll take them and I'll put like a whole stack of Wednesday cups. They go there. Then Thursday cups, and then the Friday cups, and the Saturday cups. Boom. And just go all on down the road.
Me personally, I would stick with pellets for the week. That's what I would do.
Which you can. You totally can. My copper band and idol really won't touch pellets, and I love those fish. So, I do the frozen route.
Because I'm guilty of overfeeding myself. So I know how much I put in each tank about-ish. And I know that if I had someone else doing it, it would just go south. So I'd rather err on the side of caution.
Now we're talking about a tank sitter coming on over and feeding. Let's talk about tank sitters. Gavin, do you feel that a tank sitter needs to be someone that's been in the hobby, knows the hobby, and is an expert or a wizard when it comes to reef tanks?
Absolutely not.
I agree with you, 100%.
No,
100%.
My go-to is either my dad or my brother if I need somebody.
Yep.
Mostly, I don't have someone come over and check on the tank. Just with whoever's dog sitting, I may have them keep an eye, but just for like the blatantly obvious, it's like, hey, this is going on, or if I get an alarm to my Apex, that I can have them look and see. But I don't schedule someone to say, hey, come look at the tanks, because then they have to deal with the dogs, and it's a whole process, and they're here for 3 hours, by the time they let the dogs out and everything. So I don't plan a reef sitter while I'm away.
Got it. I do. So, if I'm gone, well, I should say if both Sierra and I are gone, going on a trip together, I will have arranged where somebody comes on over. And usually the individual that I use, it's one of Sierra's friends, and she knows really, she has a goldfish. That's about it. Knows nothing about reef tanks, but you need to boil down what you expect them to do and make it really simple. So she knows it's, the cups of food pre-portioned, dumped into each tank. And then what I do, and I do this basically for the main reef, is basically the idiot check on the tank, okay? Of, here's a list of the fish that should be swimming. Boom, these are the ones you should always see out. I could go check, yep, they're all swimming. I see them, great. She knows what a dead coral looks like. See, it's supposed to be green. If you see a giant white colony, please text me a picture. I need to know that. I need to know if there's something that looks really, really off. So that's what it is. It's kind of, I tell her no news is good news. So basically, if everything's great, I don't need to hear about it. Like, good, no news is good news. That's fine. But if you see something that you think may be off, let me know. Shoot me a text. And depending on what it is will depend on if I take any action or no action. And a lot of the times, no action is actually sometimes your best option in something like this.
Now, so I said, I don't use a reef sitter, but I do have either my dad or my brother on standby. And just that way I can call them and say, hey, I think this is going on with the tank. Can you come check it out? Now, they still walk into the house, and I may have pointed things out to them before or walked them through something before. It's like, hey, this is the skimmer. This is, this, and that. But my dad, has a memory. Yeah, it's not what it used to be. And, my brother is getting there too, and he's younger than me. So, labels, written out directions, so much you can do that someone with no knowledge at all can come in and be able to follow your direction and what needs done with your tank.
You nailed my next one. I was like, I'm jumping to the label everything. So any of you that were here at my house on the NORE tank tour that we did last month, when you saw my sump, saw the basement, you will notice everything is labeled. Good old, label maker. It's actually sitting right next to me. Got this off of Amazon. Get a nice little label maker. Boom, this little guy right here. I went obsessive and I labeled everything. So down to protein skimmer and return chamber, return pump, refugium, filter sock chamber, drain line, up to tank. Literally everything is labeled. And you're not labeling it because you are going to forget what your return pump is one day. No, I hope you're going to remember what your return pump is. However, that time that you're away and your tank sitter goes, there's a really weird noise coming from the basement. And you're like, what's it coming from? And they can go, it's the return pump. It's this protein skimmer. Because they're all labeled, that's so valuable right there. So now you're giving cardinal directions, essentially, to your system downstairs, to anybody that may also be looking at. You can now have an intelligent conversation with them and point out different things and say, okay, go to the Trident. You might know what a Trident is. I know what a Trident is. Somebody that has never seen a Reef tank looks and goes, what the hell's a Trident?
That weird thing with the pointy top.
I just say the thing that looks like a birdhouse mailbox, that thing right there. Yeah, and they're like, oh yeah, that little mailbox looking thing. Yeah, that's a Trident, but no, it's labeled. So
and pretty soon it's going to be which one?
Yeah, exactly. The dark gray or the light gray one? Which one is it? But even down to things like water level, putting a little, I've got a water level arrow that says water level arrow. So tank sitter can quickly look and go, if the water level arrow and label is here, but the water is here, we have a problem. Or if it's up here, we have a problem. Like, if it's right there on the label, all right, things are good. And it's also it's good practice to have of just, things labeled on out, things, organized to where now you can, like water level, you can always just make sure that it's, right where it's supposed to be. So that is one thing that, I learned that the hard way of, when I left and I'm trying, something went wrong and I'm trying to troubleshoot this. I'm like, oh, no, go to the skimmer. And they're like, what the hell's a skimmer? I have no idea what that is. But when it's labeled protein skimmer, people can go right onto it. So that's a super, super valuable thing to have. And you might not ever have to use it, but I'll tell you, the one time that you do need somebody else to do something while you're gone, it'll be worth it.
I know not necessarily vacation related, but more disaster related. So I've been on nights. I was on nights back in January, February, and I've been on nights all month. And we had a storm warning, super high winds back February, late January. And I knew I was going to be in Pennsylvania all night, 3 hours away from my tank. So I have most of my stuff labeled. So I set everything out and I left sticky notes for my wife. I said, hey, if the power goes out, these are what need plugged into the inverter that's running off the car. So everything was labeled. That way we could just boom, boom, and we still, were able to sustain the tanks that way. Luckily, power didn't go out, but another good reason to have things labeled.
Yeah, and disaster actually, later on this year, Gavin's going to be doing a presentation for the entire club at, which month is that? That's August, I think.
September. August, September.
September is Frag Swap, so maybe it is. I don't know. Check the website, nore.fish. Does have that /upcoming-events. We'll have that. Gavin will pull that up right now. But no, yes, this is another great reason to have it labeled is, you're away, you're at work, even if it's just for the day, and, wife gives you a call, somebody at your house gives you a call and goes, there's water on the floor. Oh, that's not a call that we want. Well, where's it coming from? I don't know, right here. That doesn't tell me anything. If it's you have at least labels and cardinal directions, they can maybe describe it a little bit more as to, where that water may be coming from or whatever the situation may be. Did you look it up, Gavin? Did you figure it out?
I did. And actually, we're coming up, and we can kind of point this out here. So that's gone. We can talk about events. So if you look, June is our fragging workshop. Jeff, you want to pull up that banner real quick since I have a different screen up?
Yeah, no, I can totally do that. All right, fragging workshop, that is coming on up. Boom. And you would find out all this information at that URL. Just go to nore.fish, and right at the top, upcoming events is where you want to click on.
So that's going to be June 2nd. That's going to be 3 o'clock. Registration will be going live soon, and that'll be at that nore.fish/upcoming-events.
And we'll make a post on the Facebook group as well when that goes live.
Yeah, we go Facebook group as well. Cost for that is going to be $10 for NORE members, $50 for non-NORE members. Another one of the perks we have as a member is that you get entry into events like this for significantly less. So keep your eye open for registration there. We'll be fragging softies. Justin, if you're still in here.
It's going to be a little bit of everything. It's softies. We will have an LPS and an SPS. It's going to be 4 or 5 frags total on the entire
I know.
thing.
I'm bringing a bunch of Zoas for everyone to frag. So this is more of our beginner level fragging workshop.
Yeah, it's like $10, and you get to go home with 4 or 5 frags. That's like $2.50 a frag. Why aren't you coming on out, right?
Right. And then in July, we're having our coral farm tour, so we'll be releasing details to that here soon. Just a little hint, you'll want your membership. So make sure you go to...
Yeah, we're not allowed to go through and share too much information about this yet. But what we can share is it has been planned. It has been secured of which coral farm we are going to. As Gavin said, you will want to secure your membership because when we do release it, it will be to members only because we want to take care of our club members. So it will be to members only. And last thing I'm going to say is you've probably heard of this place. That's all I'm going to say.
Reef culture.
It's not reef culture. No, it's not. but
speaking of reef culture, we will be there on August 4th.
Oh, because, yes, August 4th, that is our make fish food.
And Jeff doesn't want to make fish food in his house.
I make it out of the driveway when I have to make it. Oh, we're gonna take it up to Reef Culture, cut up a whole bunch of squid and shrimp and clams, and throw it through blenders and add a whole bunch of yummy goodness for fish and make our own fish food, and everybody could take that on home.
See, August 4th, make your own fish food. September 1st, when disaster strikes, so we'll be talking about what could happen in your reef tank. September 28th is our Frankenstein Frag Swap. November 3rd. We were working on securing a guest speaker, so another one for everyone to keep their eye open on. And then December 1st will be our holiday party, so that'll be another good one to come out. I know did we do White Elephant? Is that what it was called?
I think that's what it is. Yeah, the White Elephant gift exchange.
Yeah, or where people can steal your gifts.
Yeah, it's like take it and trade it, and do that.
Justin stole my Inkbird.
Oh, oh yeah. Which which I just recently set up on one of the Reef Culture tanks. That's up on System 2 now. So yes, I know what that one is.
So those are our events. It stops sharing. There we go. Those are our events, and we were talking about Inkbird. So how perfectly to segue into controllers.
Yeah, controllers. Now, but here's, we were talking kind of disaster and whatnot. Greg comes on this is never a good text. Got a text from my brother with a pic of my tank seam leaking. Houston, we have a problem. Ugh, that's a bad day. That's a day that none of us hope comes.
Knocking on wood.
Yeah, that sucks. I feel for you on that one. Okay, controllers. What do you run on yours, Gavin?
So on my main display, I run an. I just did that, Jeff. On my main display, on my main display, I run an Apex.
Our brainwaves are synced right now.
So I run an Apex, and that controls my heating. And then I run two for my dosing, two of the Camor pumps to dose my alkalinity and calcium.
Okay.
And then a reef breeder. No, I can't think of the name. Auto top off, but that's
Okay.
electronic as well. For my
Got
frag system, I don't have anything yet. Just an auto top off. Apex is in the works to get that going.
Cool. Yeah, I've got an Apex on my main system, Apex up on the Reef Culture systems, and actually just recently, like within the last month, for the first time ever on the NEM tank, which used to have no automated control or monitoring or anything, I finally put one of the Wi-Fi Inkbirds onto there, and it's actually really cool and it's really good. So it's props to the Wi-Fi Inkbirds.
I do have a Wi-Fi Inkbird on my frag system, and that has helped a lot in the summer when it gets hot, and has really helped in the winter when it's gotten cold. The only thing that sucks is if it heats too long, it goes off. Have you had that happen where it heats for if it heats for a certain amount of time that you can set it to, an alarm will go off, and then it stops heating.
Got it. That's interesting. No, I haven't gotten any notifications on that or anything.
I've told you before, I live in a 1920s house, and the basement gets really cold.
Yep, 1919 on this house right here. Right there with you.
So my heaters are always running in the winter, and I have to throw extra in. And I'll get that alarm. It's like, oh, you've heated for 72 consecutive hours. It's like, yeah, that's about right. Now get back to work.
It's like, yep, that I thank you and keep working. Yep, that sounds good to me.
Now we talked about tank sitters. We talked about Apexes. If you do have an experienced reef sitter, you have that Apex, give them access to your Fusion account. That way they can go in, they can see if you're running a Trident, they can see all your test results, they can check it from home. If you've got a camera hooked up to it, they can see that. And you can, if I'm right, you can limit like what they can.
You can. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say is, in giving access, if you've got an experienced reef keeper or someone that's familiar with the Apex platform, yeah, go for it. You can limit it. You can give them view-only access or control access. So if it's like one of those like, hey, I kind of trust this person. I want them to be able to see it, but I want no chance that they could screw anything up. You can give them view-only. Or if you trust them to go on in and make any changes, you can give them that edit access as well.
Then you can check it at home. Now, Jeff, I know you have several cameras set up at home watching the things. Do you have that connected to your Apex, or is that run separately?
I do not. So I'm using Wisecam. They're great little cameras that are super cheap, and the interface doesn't actually tie on into Apex. But I do have cameras, and that was actually another thing that I put here on my list, is not only just having a camera, up against the glass looking at the fish. That's important. It's cool to be able to say, like, yes, my fish are swimming. I can count them. That's great. If I almost every time that I go, it's actually on my checklist to plug on in my basement camera. So I've got a 360 PTZ camera, pan tilt zoom camera, kind of in the center of my basement, that I can pan up and around, zoom on in, tilt it up and around to really watch frag tank as well as the entire sump system. And that has become super valuable to me, to where, okay, you're away and you get an ATK alarm. That's the Neptune's auto top off. All you know is it alarmed. You don't know why. You don't know, is it because it's not pumping water, because your sump is overflowing? You have no idea. All you know is it's not working. So if it's, your sump is overfilled, you don't want to reset it and keep dumping more water in. But if it's underfilled, you do want to do that. So what do I do at that point? I jump on the camera, zoom on into the sump, and go, oh, looks like, skimmer may have just uptakes a little bit more water than usual. It alarmed because it ran too much. Quick reset, boom, all is going and swimming happily again. So that is something that's very, very valuable in having a camera on different elements of your system that you're essentially getting eyes on it via the internet and via your cameras when you may be 2,000 miles away.
And if you have a camera and you have someone in there that doesn't know anything, you can say, point at that thing. Yes, you're pointing at the right thing.
Yes, exactly. And set up notifications for motion. So I'll get a motion notification that's like, there is a person detected in your basement. I'm like, oh, hope I know him. Oh, just Justin feeding the tank. Okay, he's all right.
It's not that ghost that lives down there.
Yeah, it's like, it's not some random guy that's robbing my house blind. No, it's just Justin feeding the tank. So yeah, that's definitely a really good thing to have that on there.
So, sticking with controllers, moving into lighting.
Yep.
I know you can have, depending what light you have, they're self-controlled. If you have the Neptune Sky, that's ran through your Apex. If you have Ecotech, that's ran through Mobius, that's ran through Apex, that's ran through whatever else you're using. Same with Aqua Illumination. But what if you have a set of T5s over your tank?
Yep.
Do you leave them off all week? Do you leave them on all week? No, you get a timer. A simple. Yep. I picked up one at Lowe's for less than $10.
Are you talking like the manual ones with the little dial on it?
You can get those. Mine is digital, but I mean it's the same. So you could be one of those people that you turn your lights on and off all day. Or all the time. That's how your lights go. Or I just started an Aptasia grow out after being inspired by Tanner. Or more wanting one down here that was actual dedicated to Aptasia grow out than what's actually happening in some of my tanks. But but that I turn on and off all day or every day. And just a simple $5-10 timer. Digital or analog, whatever, can take care of that. That way, your coral's still getting the light it needs while you're away, instead of letting them go dark or letting them fry.
It's kind of actually what I use on an M tank. I've always called it the poor man's Apex. It's a bunch of the little smart plugs, and you can get them on Amazon. There's some little Chinese brand, and they're less than $10. They're like $8, $9, and they run off of Wi-Fi, 2.4 gigahertz, and you basically bring them up in their app. And whereas an Apex, you'd be able to go through with an EB8 and control each thing on and off. You could go through and just say, this is the refugium light, this is a pump, this is a auto top off, whatever it may be, and you're essentially kind of building a poor man's Apex for $40-50. You can control 4 or 5 things, and some fun ones that I found have power monitoring too built in, so you could actually see power monitoring on these little plugs, which is really cool.
So you can either get a EB832 for $300.
Yep.
Or get 8 of these little Wi-Fi controllers.
Yeah, we'll even say they're $10 a piece. It's $80, and you now have 8 individual things that you can control things on and off with, which is
almost
cool.
Essentially what the EB832 does itself.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you don't have the ability of, if-thens and all the other stuff with Apex, but it's a thing of, I started out with the Refugium light and then added it to a couple other things of just like, what? If, something goes wrong and camera picks up that a giant golf ball sized snail plugged the hole and my leak sensor's going nuts and I look on the camera and water is just gushing over the tank, I could just go in and turn off the return pump if I needed to. Boom.
Jay
Through
says,
poor man's Apex.
Some of those work with Alexa too. Nem tank light off.
Yes, yeah, they definitely, I know some of them, and also with HomeKit. So some of, depending on what your smart home system is, I use Apple's HomeKit here, which would be Siri-based, but whether it's Google Home, Alexa, or Apple HomeKit, you can find smart plugs that integrate with all of those.
That's the next thing
I like that
Neptune
one.
needs to do.
Well, Greg just said Alexa water change. That's a cool one. I like that. What were you saying? Neptune needs to do what?
Integrate with Apple or
I was gonna say they do with Alexa. They do not with Apple right now.
Now, Jay, we brought up one comment. I want to bring up another one. Is the Casa? Is this a camera you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm
Go
not
ahead and
familiar with that. I'm not familiar with Casa.
leave a comment. I know we're on a little bit of a delay here, so respond to that if you're still here, and we'll get back to it.
Yeah, Wisecam is just what I've used, and they're very inaffordable. No, they're very affordable and inexpensive. That's what I meant to say. Inexpensive little cameras, and they got a bunch of different options. I have them on the outside of the house and the inside of the house. Pretty much, I could see everything with those little cameras, and they're like $30 a piece. They're really cheap.
Jay says Casa has cams and the smart plugs.
There you go.
Okay.
And Greg also just jumped in and said, I use Casa smart power strips, 6 plugs for $44. Boom, there you go. That's like almost a EB8, but 6 plugs, and it's $44. That's awesome. Super cool. All right, let's continue on our list. So we've got, we talked about tank sitters. We talked about, giving them control. Also, you mentioned control. We were saying if they're an experienced reef keeper, you can give them that control. My thought is, if you're not an experienced reef keeper, I'm not even going to tell you my Apex exists. They just are aware that I can control things remotely, because all that's going to do is confuse them. They have no idea what pH means. They have no idea what ORP is, or if an alk of 8 is good or an alk of 18 is bad. They have no idea, so I don't even share that information. So they're doing enough to come and just help you take care of the tank. You don't want to have to confuse them with all these crazy numbers.
Right. So moving on and still kind of sticking with controllers, test your sensors.
That's a good one.
If you've got leak sensors, they're no good if they're not working.
Yeah. Well, do you have leak sensors, Kevin?
I don't want to talk about it.
He brings them up and is like, no, I don't have them. I do. I've got 5, 6 of them right now currently. I do not use the ones through Neptune. I'm actually using the Aqara brand. Aquara is what I use. They're about the size of a poker chip, and they're battery powered, and they last for about 3 years on one battery. You do need to have an Aqara hub. They are HomeKit compatible, so it all is compatible through HomeKit. I think through a couple other platforms. I don't know. I use HomeKit. But you get these little leak sensors, and you can label them with individual names. So I'll have, under 220, behind sump, under frag tank, whatever it is. And you take these little poker chips. They're really small, and they're conductivity sensors is what they are. So you set them down. There's 2 little metal contacts, essentially, that whenever it comes into contact with water, completes the circuit and then sends the alarm. What that does is that integrates into my smart home system, which is HomeKit, and that is one of the 2 things I have set up in my smart home to be what's called a critical alert. And what a critical alert would be is, so we all know that you can have your phone on loud, you can have your phone on silent. Phone on silent, nothing happens, except for critical alerts. Critical alerts are, I don't care if I'm in a movie and my phone is silent and on Do Not Disturb. If there's water under my tank, please tell me right now. That's what a critical alert is. The other one that does that is burglar alarm. So that's the intrusion alarm on the house. I don't care what I'm doing. I want to know if someone's breaking into my house right now.
Yeah. So we've got leak sensors. If you have that Inkbird, check the calibration of the thermometers, of the temperature on there. You can check the calibration of your pH probe, your ORP probe, your salinity probe. Test all your sensors. Make sure they're working, because it's when you're away that they're going to go out.
Yep. No, and it's always good to simulate an issue. And this is kind of more of just, kind of going into that disaster type thing. But what happens when the power goes out? I want to see. So, it'll be whether it's pull the plug on the whole tank and the Apex and everything and wait and see how long does it take for Apex to yell at you and go, you've lost power. It's good to know what it does when you're sitting in front of it rather than waiting when you're 1,000 miles away on a beach in Florida and hoping that those alarms yell at you the way that they're supposed to do.
And along with testing your sensors, calibrate them and clean them.
Yes.
But don't do it right before you leave.
So let's talk about
Yeah.
my 48-hour rule. I've got a 48-hour rule that I enforce on myself. You can't, whenever you're leaving. So if I know I'm leaving Friday morning at 7 a.m., Wednesday at 7 a.m. is my cutoff. That is, you don't do any other maintenance 48 hours ahead. And what would I consider maintenance like that? That would be tuning or adjusting a skimmer. You can clean the skimmer, but don't be wiggling with the little knob of, more or less. Nope, we're not doing that. Cleaning sensors, changing a heater. Just looking at it right now, cleaning a return pump out. That's a good one because a return pump might be working for 8 months and it does need routine maintenance. But after you go through and do that, you kind of want to watch it for a little bit, and you don't go and like, oh, I'm leaving. Let's clean the skimmer right now, or not clean the skimmer. Sorry, clean the return pumps right now, and then leave for a week. Even down to cleaning out the MP60s up in the main tank. So when you go through, I'll clean them. It's important to clean them, but if anything's gonna, a plastic shroud's gonna pop off, it's gonna do it within the first 48 hours of you putting it back on into the tank. If it's lasted 48 hours, it's probably going to last much longer. Say you were like, hey, I just have this brand new ATO that I want to hook up. I've been meaning to do this. Don't do it right before you leave. Do it, again, at least 48 hours ahead. That's my rule of, I know if I'm leaving on a certain day and time and I've got a couple things I need to get done, in my head, it's 48 hours ahead. Boom, that's my deadline. If I don't hit that deadline, it's going to wait. It's going to wait till I get back.
See, I would even push that out to a week. If it was me personally, I would push it out to a week.
Which you can, yeah. My rule to me for any of those types of things is 48 hours. But yeah, no, that's just erring more on the side of caution. But then again, Gavin, if I pushed it out to a week, that means I can never maintenance anything on my tank.
Yeah, true, because you're leaving every other day. So
yeah, exactly. I'm always leaving, so that I would never get anything done around here. So that's probably why it's 2 days for me.
So yeah, you said no new fish, no new coral. Don't change your dosing. Don't add any new equipment. In doing like maintenance stuff into your tanks, what about filter socks? How do you handle filter socks or filter rollers while you're away?
How I do it?
Yeah.
So this, I'll tell you this, how I actually came up. So the method that I'm using right now and have been for probably 4 months is I've actually pulled my filter socks out completely and I don't use them at all. At all. And this actually came from, earlier where, I'd have filter socks, but yes, I wasn't super religious in pulling them out every 2 to 3 days. Sometimes they'd go 4 days, 5 days, a week, something like that. And I was always having high nitrate problems. And then, after watching a couple other live streams, talked to a couple other people about it, what I learned was what's happening is that fish waste, because that's the first thing in the system when it overflows, drains down into the sump, all that waste gets caught into those socks. And because it's caught into there, it just sits there and breaks down. So it is turning into nitrate and phosphate and dumping into the system. So what I did was I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave for a week. And I know if I just changed out the socks and left them in, it's just going to be, accumulating this waste into here. So I'm going to pull them out and see what happens. And I did it, and nitrate went down. And then I did it again for another week, and it went down again. I'm going, whoa. So what's actually happening is rather than letting that food ferment, you're letting it flow on into the skimmer chamber, and the skimmer's sucking it out of the water. So now it can't ferment into your system and break on down into those nutrients and pollute your water.
Well,
So
here's
after
another
doing this,
thing.
what was that?
I was going to talk about filter socks and the skimmer.
Okay, yeah.
You finish your thought.
Yeah, no, I'll finish my thought, then you could jump on into that. But after doing this on a couple trips and realizing this is working, I've just pulled the filter socks out completely. I haven't run them in 4 months.
Yeah, see, I'm not running filter socks on my frag system or
Okay.
any filter floss at all. But I was talking about filter socks and skimmer. We were talking about not doing anything within that 48-hour cutoff. You put that new filter sock in, and your skimmer goes crazy.
I can.
And you've got a plane to catch. So now you have a skimmer that's overflowing, not doing any work the entire time you're away.
Yep. Yep.
Don't.
And it's doing more than just not work. Now it's not getting the oxygenation and the water turbulence, that water air mixture that it would be putting in. So you're going to be getting a lower pH. Yeah. No, it could definitely cause some issues with that. In doing that. So that's why I say don't mess with that skimmer. Like, even if you're like, I think it could go up a little bit more. Nope, don't touch it. If it's within 48 hours, don't touch it.
I did want to go back to a comment Reef Trader left. It's always a good idea to demonstrate the different alarms your tank makes. So your tank babysitter, to your tank babysitter as well. So yeah, if you've got a Inkbird and that makes one distinct sound. I know my auto top off upstairs on my main display, when that runs dry, that's got a distinct sound. When it runs too long, longer than normal, that's got a different sound than when it runs dry. And if you have any other alarms on your system, it's good to let them, let them know, hey, this is going to make a sound if something's wrong. And if you can let them know, and if they remember that, hey, this is this sound, they can text you and say, hey, your heater's going off. But either way, they say, hey, there's an alarm going off, and then you can talk them through, well, what sound it's making, or they can text you and say, hey, you told me that this was this making that sound, and it's going off.
Yeah, that goes also back with labels too. As far as you have an alarm going off. Well, what is it? It's heater controller 2, because it's labeled and it says heater controller 2. They know exactly what that is.
Jake says, sounds like NORE will have a new add-on to the subscription, Tank Sitters, LOL. I was actually, so, Jeff, I talked about things that I was running through my head before this and just so much to do, so little time to do it. And I was going to put a map together of all of our, NORE members, everyone who's had a paid subscription, so everyone could see is like, hey, you're this close to somebody. I had someone over buying coral on Sunday. So I'm in Dover, and they saw the Ohio Reef swap post, and was like,
the Dayton one?
The Dayton one. And they messaged me, and they're like, you're in Dover? We're in Philly. We had no clue.
Wow.
Yeah, so
they're right next to each other.
Yeah, right next to me. No, we didn't know. Am I frozen?
You are frozen. You're frozen solid. With this smirky, weird look on your face. All right. He just lost OBS. Okay. So, yeah, let's just keep talking. But, I like that, Jake. For a new subscription tank sitters. There you go. All right, so let's keep going with different things here that can be done. As far as, don't making those big changes, topping off dosing containers. That is an important one. I've actually run into that before, to where you're gone, and talk about a helpless feeling of you're watching your Trident and you see your ALK go from 8.5 to 8.2 to 7.8 to 7.3 excuse me, and you're like, oh boy, why is this happening? Well, come to find out that your soda ash container of additive totally ran out, or your kalkwasser totally ran out. So just making sure, knowing that if you're consuming 300 milliliters a day of soda ash and you're gonna be gone for 10 days, you need to have at least 3 liters in the tank to be able to sustain while you're gone during that. You're back. Welcome back.
I'm back. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate this. You're right. All my money goes to coral.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's isn't that all of our motto? Bob's poking fun at you, saying don't pick on Gavin's AOL dial-up. Yeah, that's exactly what Gavin's rolling on right now. He's rolling on his dial-up.
I wish. So I've been watching a lot of Reef Therapy and Reef Recap, and they were getting on Salem a while ago about his internet at his apartment, and now it's happening to me. So
yeah,
I don't think it was my internet. I think it was my OBS, because I kept StreamYard up and everything flowing. I just think my OBS crashed.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there's few things I invest in, amazing things, and one of them is house internet, and I've got my fiber connection of a gig by a gig, and boom, streams work. There it is.
We're getting there. It's coming in Dover, and I don't want to talk about the internet provider I have now, but
if it starts with an S and ends in ectum, good luck.
something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yes. Good. That's who I broke up with when I got my fiber. All right, let's get off the internet topic.
Topping off dosing containers. Is that where you were at?
I was talking about topping off dosing containers. We also talked about it earlier, topping off Trident reagents. Yeah, and that's definitely not something that you want an inexperienced tank sitter. Oh yeah, open up this drawer, find the A bottle, shake this, put it. No, you just fill it up. It'll last you for a month. What is if you're running 4 tests a day? So I run 16 tests, so it's 4 times whatever mine is. And mine's a week, so I can go a week on one set of reagents. So I think it's a month, right? Is that what it is, Gavin? For a Trident? Yeah, 4 tests a day will last you a month with that.
I was looking at comments, not mathing. Sorry.
Yeah, you were looking at you were just reading. You were paying any attention to what I'm saying. I see how this goes. Okay. Filter socks, we already talked about that one. As far as, do you just remove them? I did, and I learned it was actually better. So that was something that I learned from going away on a trip and was like, this is awesome. Cameras on the tank, even if they're temporary, again, there's a lot of things that you can do when you are going away that don't have to be pretty because you're not at the house. So whether that's just setting up a Wise camera and setting it on a coffee table pointed at the tank overall, that can be very, very useful. When you need it, and it could definitely be something that is useful. But Gavin, I've got a question for you. Say I am an inexperienced tank sitter, and you have me go on over to your house, and you're on the beach, which you are right now. You're just chilling there under a palm tree,
right,
with your hat that Justin made fun of. And I look into your tank, and you trained me and said, white coral equals bad. And I send you a picture of this bird's nest colony that you have that's half white. I don't think this is right, Gavin. What do you want me to do?
One, I can't keep bird's nest to save my life. So
well, let's just assume that you can, okay? You can keep... your Monty cap is half white.
There we go.
Okay.
Normally for me, it's a nutrient issue. That's, I don't get very many alkalinity swings or stuff. But I could walk them through. I run HANA checkers.
Okay.
So simple water tests if I needed to.
Okay.
But we talked earlier about having water on hand.
Okay.
So I have enough water to do a possibly a 50% water change if I need to. So I can troubleshoot and walk them through enough that's simple to hopefully take care of it. But in the end, if it happens, it happens, and that's where you start building back. Moki, inappropriate reefer. He left, I believe he went to Japan for several weeks and came back, and a lot of his acros he lost. I think it was something with his alkalinity, or he had just put on new lights to his tank. So he made a change before he went to Japan.
Right before you leave. A change like that, redoing light, yeah, I'd go weeks before leaving for a long time on something like that.
And he lost some pretty nice acros. So I mean, it's one of those things where if it happens, it happens. You pick yourself up, and I mean that's how I look at a lot of things anymore. Is that we talked about this our last live stream. You fail, things happen, and it's how you come back from that. So if I can't walk them through to save something that's going on, if I can't figure it out while I'm away, then I figure it out when I get home and hope for the best, and we go on from there.
All right, so I'm going to ask you the same question again because you threw a whole bunch of info, but you didn't give me any direction. I'm that inexperienced tank sitter. This Monty cap is I just said this coral because I don't know what it is half white. You told me to tell you if things are white. What do I do? What is your directive that you would give them?
I'd be lost because I'd be trying to figure things out myself too.
See, this is good. It's good that we're talking through this because I know what I would do because I've been in this situation before, and I've thought through all the different variables.
What would you do?
No, I asked you first. You got to answer this. Then I'm going to go through it. I'll tell you what I would do.
I mean, I would have them. So probably just run my HANA checkers. Like I said, alkalinity, nitrate, phosphorus, or phosphate. The only I wouldn't have them go through the magnesium and all those titration tests. See if I can find something in there. Maybe I had my dosing pump dropped too much alkalinity in. Something, maybe we can figure that out. And if I need to, have them do a water change. Simple enough. Hey, there's I got 5-gallon jugs. Take a 5-gallon bucket. Suck on the hose and put new water in.
Okay. Got it. I'll tell you this. Everybody's entitled to their own ideas and opinions. I would not have them do nearly any of that stuff. And here's kind of my reasoning on this. I have thought that in the past. First of all, is it one coral that is having issues, or is half your tank on fire?
You set me up for this one.
I did not. It's good to have some disagreement. We can't always just agree with each other on things. But if it's one coral out of 60 that has problems, you have 59 that are good. You are going to probably cause more problems by having someone inexperienced, or even somebody that's experienced with reefing but not experienced on your system, sticking their hands in there, changing water, going through a bunch of other stuff. When it comes to the test kits, think of somebody's very first time running a HANA checker. It's not hard, and you could probably talk them through it. But if they don't know exactly how to do it and they give you an erroneous value, you don't know, is it because they did the test wrong, or is it because your alkalinity is actually falling? My thought is, it sucks. Like, have I had colonies go up while I'm out of town and they send me pictures each day and more is white? Yeah, it sucks. But if it's one, the tank's not on fire. You're actually going to do more by sticking your hands in and clipping things off. Just stay out of my tank and I'll figure it out when I get back. It sucks, though. Doesn't make it suck less.
True. Yeah.
But I didn't mean to like set you up on one, but it was like, now here's an interesting thing. Half your corals are all white. Oh, then at that point you're into saving mode. You're into survival.
So one thing we haven't brought up or talked much about, kind of going back to reef sitters. I know no one's close to me, but further up north, you have fish stores that take care of tanks.
Yep.
So you may not be one of their regular people that they come and clean tanks for, but if you have a good relationship with them, say, hey, I'm going to be out of town for this month or for this amount of time. Can what's it going to take to stop in like three times while I'm gone, or can I have you on call in case something super bad goes down? So having that relationship with your local fish store or setting something up like that.
Yeah, whether it's a LFS or another hobbyist that you trust, make friends. Basically, is what it is. Make friends with somebody. Whether even if you do have a consistent, the neighbor or the kid next door or whatever it is that comes on in and feeds your fish. But if you want somebody else just on standby in case it's needed, yeah, that could be a really, really good idea for sure.
And going back to Jake's point here about the an add-on, for tank sitters, we are still working on a mentorship program. So that could be a thing. We've been
working on that for a long time. We should get that. We should get that actually out and rolling.
Hey, it's coming. It'll be
there. It's
a
work in progress. It's coming.
Nothing good happens fast.
That's it.
Nothing good happens
just like growing
fast.
coral. Just like growing coral.
But still, you get involved in the Facebook group. You find people close to you. Still a great opportunity. You meet people through the Facebook group. Put a post up saying, "Hey, I'm going away for this amount of time. Anyone in this area free, or can be my my 911 call, in case I need you." And then you get to know them. You get to know them at club events, and that way you're comfortable with them in your house, and you have a fellow hobbyist that can take care of your tank.
For sure. No, Jake just dropped in a good question. Of course, if anybody else has questions, now's the time to drop them on in, even if they're not quite exactly related to what we talked about. Jake's asked about auto feeders. We did address this in detail, so you can always go back and watch the recording when we dove into auto feeders. Do we recommend one? We talked about the pros and cons. There are some pros to them of being able to give your fish food on a daily basis, but it also comes with some cons. You need to make sure that you have fish that will eat pellets, because most of them are pellet or pellet and flake. And then you also have the other challenges with them to make sure that they're not dumping too much food into your tank. And the other practice is just make sure that it's running for at least a week ahead of time before you leave. The last thing you want to do is set up an auto feeder the day before you go and it's not working correctly, whether it's adding too much or not enough or not at all while you're gone. So yeah, you can go back and watch that whole, we probably talked about that for 5-10 minutes. But if anyone else has any other questions, because we're kind of getting near the end of it right here of vacation prep with that. There we go. Yep, you didn't get out of start. No worries. Yep, nope, that kind of gave you the high-speed recap, but you can go on back and dig on into the full version when we really dove into the pros and cons when it comes to a auto feeder with that. I've never used one. Gavin, you have, you said?
Yeah, I use the AFS.
Yeah, the AFS, the
was
Neptune
on vacation.
one. Yeah, so I've not used one, but yeah, I'm familiar with them. So cool.
Yes.
Well, let's.
I was going to so much we can talk about. I know we're an hour, almost an hour and 20 minutes in. So leave your comments, leave your questions. We'll get to those. But there's so many multiple ways to do it. So many multiple ways. That's redundant. There's so many ways to do it. Biggest thing is know how you're going to do it. Know how you're going to prepare when you do leave for a vacation. Jeff talked about it pretty hard. His checklist. Get that down and run through it every time you leave. If you leave a lot, like Jeff, or heck, even if you're going on a week vacation, it's still good practice. We put a lot of time and money into our reefs, and peace of mind knowing that you've done what you can, so your reef tank survives while you're away.
Yes,
Jeff, I see you got something.
Yeah, this is one of these classic things of, failing to plan on something like this is planning to fail. It's really it. Have a plan. Having a plan is better than having no plan. It doesn't have to be the perfect plan, but if you at least have a plan of what you're going to be doing, that is far better than no plan at all. I just hope it works. Oh, Jay just touched on a really good one right there. Finally got backup power. That's always been a want.
I did want to talk to you. Have you talk about that, Jeff?
Oh, I was going to ask Jay. Jay, would you end up doing? Is that whole house generator that you have on there, or are you doing battery backups? A couple different ways of doing that. All of them can definitely help out in a situation like this. But what were you saying, Gavin?
Yeah, because you'd be perfect for that. But I think that may be a topic we leave for the when disaster strikes.
Okay. There you go.
Like I said, we can talk and talk and talk, and we can somehow relate everything to preparing for vacation.
Yeah, no, this is a good one from Jake. Once again, wasn't here from the start, but also keep a notebook next to the tank with schedules and dates for like water changes and tests and major things for the tank. Yeah, no, that kind of, I would even say, falls under kind of more general maintenance practices. But yeah, a really, really good thing. And whether it's a notebook, physical notebook that you're writing pen and paper, or you're going through and using the Neptune app for that, using Apex, or using a different app. So I use Reef Trace. Yeah, Reef Trace. Reef Trace. It's a little purple pink icon. Reef Trace is the one that I'm using.
It's called Aquarimate.
Yeah, see, there's a bunch of different ones. And none of them are better than the other. It's just what tool you decide to use. Jake also says, I keep simple instructions in the back for my wife if I'm not home and something needs done. Yeah, that's a great thing. That's always a, hey, this is happening. What do we do? Jay jumps in and says, EcoFlow's solar generator battery backup on a return pump, and it's only a few hours of power, but that's a usual blackout. Yep, that's a great thing right there. And that second follow-up comment, he said, refurbished only costs $120, so well worth it. Yes, that I would agree with you on that. So I have the car battery array here in my house. It's three or four car batteries. They're actually the sealed lead acid, so they're motorized wheelchair batteries. That I have 12-volt system that if we do lose power, that immediately kicks on in. It's always held on a trickle charger, and it's running anything that is low voltage capable. So that's really all my Vortex and my closed loop pump on the frag tank. So whereas it doesn't have a return pump, it still keeps that in-tank flow. So, because the thing is, it's no flow is going to kill your tank quicker than anything else. So as long as you keep flow into the system, and I've got those low voltage wires run throughout the entire house, so it's hitting all the tanks to where at least the flow's going, and then the Apex should alert me and say, hey, you have no power. Now at least I know the tank has flow as I'm trying to figure out what my next steps are going to be.
Right. And, as we said, that's a topic for September 1st.
September, yes, your talk on when disaster strikes, but
they're
they're all good things that kind of play into this because it is a bigger problem if you don't have power and you are on the beach in Florida versus just at work 30 minutes down the road.
Right. So before we wrap things up, I do want to go in. I want to thank our sponsors. They sponsor the club. So we got Reef Culture, 330 Corals, Dirty Dogs Corals, Shark Bait, A Dash of Poodle, and Harvey's Harbor. Without their support, club like ours wouldn't be possible. One of the big things they do is at our meetings, our monthly meetings, they donate a lot of coral for our members' raffles. What do you do, Jeff? They donate a lot of coral for our members' raffles. So if you come to one of our meetings, it's a free raffle, but you have to be a NORE member to get tickets. And our club sponsors, they'll donate frags, they'll donate equipment. One of the big perks of showing up, you can show up and you can get one of the mushrooms, a jawbreaker.
Okay.
A jawbreaker mushroom. We've had those donated before. We've had
lots of torches. We've had anemones. We've had a bunch of things.
I know Brian 330 Coral likes to tease everyone and will bring one super nice thing in but every third month so it's awesome to have those people supporting our club so we can offer things like that to our members.
Kelly, if you're watching this, Greg's waiting for the poodle. Yep, waiting for the poodle to come on in. There you go. Somebody will take home a poodle.
What did we say last time? What, $500 off a poodle?
Yeah, it is.
That's what she said.
$500 off a poodle, which is that's awesome. So if you are like, and then Jay goes, those aren't reef safe. Yeah, I wouldn't put the poodle in the reef. Yeah, no, love it.
We're still got a few minutes here. If you've got any more comments, any tips, any tricks, or just any general questions, drop them in.
Yeah, if you have any other questions, really anything related, recap back to our next events coming on up. It's going to be that coral fragging workshop. I know some of you just joined on in. That is taking place the first Sunday in June. That will be at Reef Culture. It's going to be only $10 for all NORE members. So if you are a NORE member, you will go through and $10, and you get to take home a bunch of different frags. We'll be doing some softies, some LPS, some SPS. And not only do you get the frags, you get to learn how to make the frags. So if you've never actually made an SPS frag or used a bandsaw and cut up a LPS, I think we're doing a Favia is what we're doing. So you'll get to learn how to cut a Favia. So that'll be
it's hands-on.
Cool.
So everyone gets the chance. It's not just you show up and we show you how to do it and give you a frag. It's you show up, we show you how to do it, you do it, and you take home one of those frags.
Yep, I know. Like last couple of years, I've run the SPS station on that, and yep, that's exactly how I do it. Where I'll do a demonstration of one, and I'm like, okay, here's the colony. What are you cutting off? Go for it. Here are the bone cutters. Cut off your piece.
Yeah, so really great experience. And like I said, you get to go home with coral.
Yeah.
So you can't complain about that.
And it's $10 for all of our members. So it's a great event for our members. That will be going up soon, and the URL is right down there. So that's where you'll be signing on up, nori.fish/upcoming-events.
I say dash. Upcoming dash
hyphen
events.
tomato.
It's easier to say dash.
Is it a pound sign or a hashtag? I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. Depends how old you are. That's how you know that's simple.
So I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you for your questions. If you got questions after this, after we end the live stream, or you think of something, drop them in the comments. We'll get to them, or put them in the Facebook group, the NORE Facebook group. We have over 1,200 people now, I think.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, about 1,200 people. So someone's going to know the answer. Yeah. Great.
It's a great
place.
community. I mean, our community is based upon helping each other, being there for each other, and not putting other people down. So even if you've got a question that you think is, oh man, I don't want to sound dumb asking this question. Yeah, go for it. Absolutely. And you're absolutely welcome, Greg. Thank you very much. Always learning something new. We all are. We're all learning something new. So, whatever, I'm always watching other live streams, watching other people. I read the comments too. There'll be sometimes that, I'll see something. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a good one. I'm curious to see what everybody else says. So, yeah, I'm reading them too. So it's a great community for sure.
Constantly learning. And Jeff was talking about our Facebook group being a great community. And it's all local, or local into Ohio, and maybe some people we know in Pittsburgh, that sprinkled through that have come to some of our events. It's not 1,000 people spread out across the country. It's 1,000 people, Columbus, Cincinnati, greater Cleveland area, Akron, Cleveland, Dover. If anyone else is down here, let me know. I'm so lonely.
He's so lonely, all the way down there in Dover. Yeah, but no, we do, as people are coming on in, we're checking to see where they're from and making sure they're here, because we want to keep it relevant. We want to keep it to somebody in this area that someone's not going to go in the group and say, I have a tank for sale, but I'm in Los Angeles, California. It's like, that's nice, but that's not for me. No, this is all Northeast Ohio stuff. So there we go. Well, thank you guys again. We will be back here. Jake says Portage Lakes. So, boom, anyone out there near Portage
Akron
Lakes, hit Jake up. There you go. Awesome. And even if you're watching this live stream later on and not when it's live, feel free to go through, drop some comments on down, answer some of the questions and maybe where you're from, or if you have a question relating to going on away when you're going away for vacation. Gavin watches the comments. I watch the comments. We'll drop our answers on down into there, or another member of our community will as well. There goes my yellow tang. She's swimming right by the screen right now. There we go. Well, thank you guys. We will be back next month with an all new topic, and I hope to see all of you at our fragging workshop, which is just coming on up in a few weeks. Until then, take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our second live stream, and have a wonderful evening.
Have a good night, guys.
See ya. Bye-bye.